Welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Now, this is something really serious, very important, so I hope you will stay tuned in and watch this entire video. A man is scheduled to die on November 20th for a crime that he very well may not have committed. 51-year-old Rodney Reed was convicted of rape and murder simply because DNA evidence was found on a female that he was having a relationship with. Rodney Reed has maintained his innocence since day one. There's never been a question from him whether or not he did this or not. And at the time, he did make one serious mistake, for sure. And that is when the police arrested him and questioned him. He didn't bother to tell them that he had been in a relationship with Stacey Stites, the murder victim. But we're talking the late 90s. You're looking in Texas. A black man having a relationship with a white woman, convicted by an all-white jury, even when a lot of the evidence pointed to the fact that her fiancé, Jimmy Fennell, may have been the culprit. In fact, Jimmy Fennell was the original suspect in the case, partly because of disparities in his different statements. Like when he was first questioned, he said, I was at a bar at the time of her death. And then he said later that he had spent time with her that evening, that he had been with her that evening, or that morning, before she died. It turns out he was with her at the time of her death. A discrepancy in the original forensics said that she had died at a different time. It turned out, under further review and admissions by the forensic experts that they had made mistakes, it was discovered that she had died at the same time that Jimmy Fennell said he was with his fiancée. So not only was Rodney Reed in a relationship with a woman who was in another relationship, but Jimmy Fennell, the fiancé, had said if he ever found her cheating, he would kill her. And then she wound up dead. There's also a person who was serving a felony term for forgery, who admitted, or had said that Jimmy Fennell admitted to him during a 10-year sentence, which we'll discuss in a second, that Jimmy Fennell admitted to murdering Stacey Stites because she was having an affair with a black man. That revelation is very recent. But back to Jimmy Fennell for a second. Jimmy Fennell was serving a 10-year sentence for sexual assault and kidnapping because from a time in 2007 where, as a Georgetown police officer, he kidnapped and sexually assaulted a woman who was under his watch as a police officer. He has a history, even before the case that took place with Miss Stites, before Stacey Stites was murdered. He had a history of violence against women. After her death, he had a history of violence against women. It is very likely that Jimmy Fennell is the culprit behind the murder of Stacey Stites. But right now, the Texas governor is not giving Rodney Reed a stay of execution. Mr. Governor, if you do not at least commute his sentence to a life sentence without parole, you are very likely going to put a man to death who had nothing to do with this murder. All I can tell you is may God have mercy on your soul, Mr. Abbott. If you choose to let this very possibly innocent man be put to death. People from Dr. Phil to Rihanna to Beyonce and even Kim Kardashian have been involved in trying to get Mr. Reed free, or at least have his sentence commuted. These are people that are putting their names on the line for a man because they believe he is innocent. The Innocence Project believes he is innocent. Now, I can't say one way or the other who exactly did this crime. But based on the evidence that I'm seeing, it is very likely Rodney Reed did not. I will leave a link in the description below for you to sign a petition, as well as the numbers to call to get a hold of the governor and basically beg for this man's life. This happened at a time in Texas where racism ran amok, where the ideas of racial couples was just considered taboo. Where very likely, because he was a Bastrop County Sheriff deputy at the time of the murder, that is very likely that he had help covering it up. Or if nothing else, they didn't pursue him as much as they should have, Jimmy Fennell. I'm starting to believe, based on the evidence I have seen, that Rodney Reed is clearly not the murderer and that Jimmy Fennell very likely is. But like I said, I cannot tell one way or the other. That's for the experts to figure out. But the evidence points that Rodney Reed is innocent of the charges that he's been found guilty of, and that he will die for in 9 days. Please help save this man's life. As somebody who is a supporter of the death penalty in many cases, this is a case where I cannot support it. You should only have death penalty cases or death penalty sentences in cases where you know without a doubt that the person committed the crime. And in this case, there is so much doubt that we have to beg Governor Abbott of the state of Texas to spare this man his life. Unfortunately, I have very big doubts that Governor Abbott will take action. But he could go a long way in proving that he does indeed have a heart, that he does indeed have a soul, by sparing this man's life. Governor Abbott, I plead with you. If you ever come across this video, I know you won't, but if you do, please spare Rodney Reed his life. The evidence shows that he very likely may not have committed this crime. So please consider sparing this man's life. Anyways, this has been the Big Rant Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck. I'll see you down the road.